Here comes the Cardinal.
Annuncio vobis gaudium magnum, habemus papam. Eminentissimum ac reverendissimum Dominum Georgium Marium, Sancte Romani Ecclesiae Cardinalem Bergoglio, qui sibi nomen imposuit Franciscum.
Bergoglio from Argentina. Cardinal Bergoglio, newly elected Pope, leader of the Roman Catholic Church. And we will wait to see as he will soon make his way out to the balcony there. I wanted to bring in Father Matt Malone, who is in Rome now, and I'd like to get your reaction, Father Malone, to the announcement of the new Pope. And I would like, we'll get to Father Malone in just a moment, but Father Guthrie, your reaction.
I am here.
Your reaction. Cardinal Bergoglio been elevated to the pontificate.
Well, this was not one of the names that was listed as if it was going to be an early election. I think I'm a surprise, I think, yes.
I am a Jesuit, and I must tell you, I never expected in a million years that a Jesuit would step out as Pope.
What does that say to the larger picture, to the direction of the Catholic Church?
It says that they're open to new possibilities, and that this is a time of great hope and a time of change. Not in the core teachings of the Church, of course, perhaps approach to the 21st century.
The Third World or Latin America for the growth of the Church. I mean, his name was mentioned as one possibility, and there was a question about whether they would select a Jesuit, but he wasn't, so to speak, on the short list. He was sort of on the longer list of possibilities that were mentioned. So in that sense, it's not a complete surprise, since he was always being mentioned, but he wasn't among the top 5 that one would have anticipated being mentioned.
Some of the background. He was born in 1936, ordained as a priest for the Jesuit community, as you had pointed out, Father, in 1969, and that in of itself is a surprise. Has
he not been also very positive in regard to some of the social concerns of the Church? that is one of the things I remember having read about him when I was reading through the list of possibilities.
He is 76 years old. Age, not necessarily a contributing factor in the decision of the cardinals.
Well, he would be 3 years younger than Ratzinger was when he was appointed.
And he was a favorite, was he not, in 2005? A very close.
Yes, Ratzinger was clearly a favorite. He was a favorite.
Father Malone, if you could speak to the fact that a Jesuit has now been elevated to the pontificate.
Well, it's an extraordinary thing. He is the first Jesuit in the history of the Roman Catholic Church to be elected Pope. And without getting into the history of the Jesuits formed in the 16th century, we've had a stormy relationship with the Church in some centuries, and it's really an extraordinary thing.
I would refer to it almost as perhaps a healing moment in this regard, insofar as there has been a tension between some aspects of the Vatican and the Jesuits, and I think having a Jesuit as Pope, and in view of the fact that the Jesuits have been so worldwide in their activity, in their missionary activity, in their teaching in the Church, so that I think it would be interpreted as a sign of, rather than making a selection for someone who's closer to the Opus Dei or some much more conservative movement, getting Jesuits. So I see that as a very positive sign.
Speak to the fact that he is among the small group of Latin American candidates, slightly older, in fact, than the other candidates that were up there. That region now obviously being strongly represented in the Catholic Church.
I think that's important. Perhaps his age is a sign that maybe one doesn't want a pope for a longer period of time. In other words, not willing to settle on someone who would be 10 years younger, and that means whatever decision you made now would last for a much longer time. And so I think it's perhaps, one of my hopes for the Church, and of course it's only my hope, is that what Ratzinger did by stepping down at 85, that he may set a precedent for future popes. Bishops have to resign at 75, but they're often allowed to stay to 80. And the question would be, do you want to focus on the office, its ministry, and the value of the office? And so that 85 might be a time in the future that other popes might follow in Ratzinger's bold and I think courageous steps, and also step down at around 85.